Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, here to help you with your fantasy baseball drafts by breaking down my top 12 at every position, and this time it's second base, not known as the deepest as far as fantasy goes, but I'm going to help you by letting you know who you should draft at the top, or if you wait, who the best picks are. So let's start with number one, and this is a guy who could absolutely be considered the number one overall pick in any draft this year. That is Trey Turner. Now, he does qualify at both second base and shortstop for the Dodgers this year. Probably going to play second base every day. It doesn't really matter in terms of where you put him, but you know what? Second base should be his home because, again, this is a thinner position than shortstop offensively, and this is somebody who will do it all. You probably know by now he's going to help you in every single category, but most of all, probably the most underrated is batting average because it's a lot easier to make up home runs and RBIs and some of those counting stats than batting average. Not a lot of guys can hit over 300 consistently. This is somebody who hit 328 last year, and he's been among the league leaders in batting average for 3 straight seasons. We know he's at the top of one of the best lineups in baseball. Oh yeah, by the way, 28 home runs, 32 stolen bases. So there's absolutely no question Turner should be the top second baseman. All right, so number 2 at second base is Ozzie Albies. For me, he's somebody who is almost a 5 category contributor. 259 average kind of puts him at kind of a 4.5, I guess, category. Anyways, he's somebody who is going to bring the Thunder 30 home runs last year. You know, for his size, not quite Altuve size, but you wouldn't think he had that much pop. He does, and also 20 steals, being part of that Atlanta lineup, especially if Freddie Freeman comes back. Hopefully he does. 106 RBIs, 103 runs scored. He is definitely going to be a run-scoring machine for you. There's no question. Look, Albies, I think, is definitely a top 20 fantasy player overall. Always seems to be undervalued for some reason, so no worries with him. Number 2. And number 3, Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, yeah, that's right. Mookie Betts, remember, he came up as a second baseman, an outfielder for years, but now, he's not shifting back. Don't worry, we were talking about Trey Turner. He's the second baseman for the Dodgers, but Betts did get a little bit of action there last year, enough to qualify him for the position, so we got to talk about him, because if you're drafting Mookie Betts, you're going to put him at second base, not at outfield. Now, why do I have him number 3 behind Albies? Well, let me tell you that Betts, I know last year was disappointing for him statistically. The thing is, you can always kind of brush off a year. He was great in 2020, that short season. There was absolutely no problem with the transition to LA. But again, this is a guy you have to realize is a little bit past prime age, and you have to worry because his expected batting average now has dropped by 46 points and his hard hit rate by 6.5 points ever since he came to LA and his 27 age season. So I'm not saying he's completely past his prime in terms of being on the decline. We have to consider that maybe Betts isn't going to be exactly what we remember. So I'd still have him number 3 at this position. All right, number 4, we have Marcus Semien, now of the Texas Rangers, signed a massive contract for 7 years alongside Corey Seager, who is going to make up the left side of that infield. So Semien is going to be planted at second base permanently, assuming Seager stays healthy. So Semien, a guy, 45 home runs last year, also going to get you 15 plus steals. I mean, you would think maybe you could argue for him even higher, but no. So here's the thing, career year, I'm not going to say that it was all contract driven, but this is a guy who's been on 1 year deal after 1 year deal. And then in this contract season, he put it all together. Also, the fact he was with Toronto, one of the best, arguably the best offense in the entire league. Now he's going to the Rangers. Look, the Rangers signed him and Seager for a reason. They needed offense. So besides those 2 guys who are new to the team, there's a lot of young players, a lot of question marks. It's not going to be the same offensive environment. Obviously, playing in the heat of Texas, not the same as playing in the Rogers Center or in Buffalo and all those minor league stadiums Toronto has been playing in. So I think we have to expect that the power numbers take a dip. Look, he still has decent speed, but this guy is over 30 also. At some point, the decline is going to come. I'm not saying he's going to come crashing down this season, but we definitely have to temper expectations, not focus on last year's stats, but project ahead to this year's stats. So I think number 4 is fine, but don't overpay for last year's stats. I think number 4, as far as second base goes, is just fine. Number 5, we have Old Reliable. That is Whit Merrifield. And this is somebody who you can wait a little bit on, maybe round 5 or so. and get 40 steals, that's pretty good. So you don't have to overpay for steals sometimes either. Now, of course, there's a trade-off. You're going to get Whit Merrifield instead of a guy like Albies or Trey Turner. Well, you're not going to have that much power. He can get you double-digit home runs, but that's about it. You're definitely not getting 20 plus. He'll score you some runs, and he will definitely steal bases with a strong batting average. So, I mean, there's nothing to complain about there. It's just you're sacrificing a little bit of power. But you know what? You don't necessarily chase power at second base anyways. So I think Merrifield is a perfectly fine, I guess you can call it consolation, if you're going to wait and not pull the trigger on a second base in the first couple of rounds. Now, what if you do want to chase upside? As I'm prone to do sometimes. Well, full confession, my absolute favorite player in the majors is a Marlin because I'm a Marlins fan. Thank you very much. Jazz Chisholm Jr., one of the most colorful and exciting players in the league. Look, as a 23-year-old, he had 18 home runs and 23 steals. All right. His StatCast expected numbers, not too great in terms of batting average and chase rate and whiff rate. He can improve on that plate discipline. Again, very young player, and he kind of probably felt a lot of pressure having to do a lot on his own in that lineup. But the good thing is Don Mattingly will absolutely give him the green light every time. He can definitely do more than just 23 stolen bases. Yeah, I can see him getting 30. He can hit 20 home runs. The average, we'll see. It's not going to kill you, though. We're not talking Mondesi level here. He'll at least hit 250. He should score some more runs being at the top of that lineup. So I absolutely love his fantasy upside here. This is a guy I have in number 6 just because, well, we know it's definitely riskier. You're not getting the batting average boost like you do with those other guys. But look, I absolutely think Jazz Chisholm is going to be a star in this league. So for fantasy purposes, I do not mind overreaching for him just a little bit in roto leagues. All right, next up, number 7, we have Jose Altuve, former fantasy MVP himself. Here's the thing, the Jose Altuve you might remember is different. It's been a few years now, but Altuve, remember the guy who used to lead the league in stolen bases? He got you average, a ton of runs scored, and would steal, 40, 50 bases? Yeah, he doesn't exist anymore. All of a sudden, he is a slugger, so he will not get you almost any steals, right? Don't count on any at all. He only stole 5 bases all last year, but he'll get you 30 plus home runs. So I'm not sure how you just consciously do that, become a speed guy to a power guy, but he has done it. So he actually still has decent wheels. He just doesn't steal that much anymore. So again, this whole Astros team is not going to get you stolen bases. Bregman doesn't do it. Brantley doesn't do it. Altuve doesn't do it. Don't count on that. All right, but he will get you the power. He will score a ton of runs. So he doesn't quite have that complete 5 category appeal that you remember, but this is still a guy you got to feel pretty good about getting that power and those counting stats from. So right now I got him number 7 for that reason. All right, we're at number 8 now for second baseman. Let me read off this stat line, tell you if this interests you at all. 33 home runs, 98 RBIs, 97 runs scored, 11 steals, and a 269 average. Who's that man? It's Jorge Polanco of the Twins. That's right, not a great season for the Twins in 2021. He was one of the few bright spots, and he definitely was that. After a down season, he got back to what we remember from a couple years ago. He flashed that potential. All right, so he's more power than speed, but he can help you, as I just explained, in every category. Now, is he going to be an elite performer at any single one of those categories? No, but again, this is a guy that it's absolutely worth waiting for if you don't go early at second base, which a lot of people don't these days, right? If you don't get your Turner or your Albies early, you might as well wait, and this is a guy that's worth waiting for. The Twins, well, their lineup won't be that different from last year, so I don't know that we can expect better from him, but if you can get anything close to what you got last year, he's absolutely worth where he's going and not being overvalued in drafts either. So Jorge Polanco right now, I got number 8. All right, now number 9 is Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is a guy who was an absolute steal last year. 2020 looks like it was just an outlier, like it was for a lot of players, a blip on the radar. He was back to his hard-hitting ways. This is a guy who had a 307 expected batting average. He's going to get you a lot of help in that category, and he's got the power. Not going to help you too much with speed, which is why we can't put him higher. And not in a great lineup, so hard to trust, but also the fact he did miss quite a few games last year with injury. But if you look at the fact that, again, you can get him a lot later on than some of those guys I already mentioned, he could be a draft steal again. This is somebody, if you project last year's stats, he actually could go for 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. I mean, if you can get that, down at the 9th, 10th spot among this position, you're doing something right. So Ketel Marte right now, I got 9th. another guy that sometimes just slips way too far down in drafts, and that is Brandon Lau in Tampa Bay. Look, out of all second basemen last year, he actually had the third highest WAR. That's wins above replacement. That's not a fantasy counting stat, but I can tell you that there's a reason, because it's not his glove, it's his bat. This is a guy who had 39 home runs as a second baseman, primarily 99 RBIs, 97 runs scored. I mean, we could be looking at a cheaper discounted version of Jose Altuve. Doesn't have quite the name recognition, but maybe he should. So the only thing is, again, being more of a slugger, his batting average isn't as high, and he doesn't get you the steals. So he's not going to help you in as many categories, but he'll help you more in the power category. So if you're okay seeking that at second base, Lau's your guy. Number 11 is Javi Baez, now in Detroit. So thumbs up or thumbs down? Well, you tell me. What do you want helping? If it's power, he's your guy. He'll also get you double-digit steals. So 30 home runs, 10 steals, you can almost book it. Unfortunately, he will tank your average, right? He is a guy who will definitely flirt with a 200 mark. I mean, he was well below it for a lot of last year. We'll see what happens in Detroit. I don't think it's going to be a big difference for him. He is what he is. He's a free swinger. You know what? In roto leagues, that'll help you a little bit more. Points leagues, you kind of just have to avoid Baez. But in a roto league, it definitely helps you in those categories that you want, and that is home runs and steals. I think that lineup is going to be pretty good if some of those young players come together. So I'm not too worried, but again, the fact is that you just have to take that hit in average. So right now I got Baez number 11. And at number 12, not a bad consolation prize at all. If you want a guy who can just help you in every category, even if he's not going to necessarily win any one for you, that is Jonathan India of the Cincinnati Reds. An exciting young player. Thing is, he is definitely going to score a lot of runs. 98 runs scored last year, and he does have decent power, few steals. But again, the upside, we know he's never going to be a 30 homer guy. He's not going to steal 20 bases. Just not going to. It's not in the cards for him. Not going to happen. But again, he will not hurt you in any category either. And so this is a player that coming up as a third baseman had to make the move to second base. To accommodate other players on the roster. Worked out just fine, and it actually works out better in terms of eligibility at a thinner offensive position. So I like India. If you're going to wait at second base, he's the guy you should be targeting. Right now I got him number 12. All right, that does it for my second base rankings. Don't forget, you can check every position here. Already got first base, third base, shortstop, and outfield. All the help that you could possibly need to help you win. That's our end game to help you dominate your draft for fantasy baseball. All right, guys, thanks for watching.